Hello, my friend, and welcome to this episode of A Call to Leadership. Well, we're going to jump into a topic we don't talk about very often, AI, leadership, faith, and fortunes. Wow, what a combination of topics. I've invited Mr. PJ Accetturo and Mr. Joseph Thompson, my two Italian brothers, who are dear friends, and just rapping about this crazy world we live in, the future of AI when it comes to filmmaking, PJ's journey, and some really introspective questions about how faith plays into all of it. Can't wait for you to listen in. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership. PJ, what's up, brother? Thanks for being here. Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Joseph, good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I love your shirt.
Thanks. It says y'all need Jesus.
Y'all need Jesus. Is that like a Southern shirt?
Hey, you need them everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere you're in.
Y'all.
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 That's my encompassing.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like passive aggressiveness to it, like in the same way that like, bless their heart. It's like a straight up Southern curse word.
When I was down in Texas, work at school, and y'all was that was the phrase that pays. In fact, I spent a whole week there in my the first part of the program. I spent a week in Dallas, and so you can imagine that Southern accent, and there's nothing wrong with it for everyone listening in the South. However, there was on like Friday or Saturday of that week, there was someone who was giving a presentation on how etiquette. We had to learn etiquette on how to eat. And she said, "You guys." And let me tell you, my ears just like, that sounds so good. It's from the Midwest. You guys.
I love the accent.
Yeah.
Down there. The hospitality.
Yeah.
It's great.
Southern hospitality.
Oh, it's
it's really a thing.
If you go to the right places, because obviously you can. It is a step above, I think, what you're used to
Here, any St. Louis.
Yeah, because like
St. Louis,
a lot of the people here, don't look the customer in the eye. They may want something, just overweight them
at the Cookie Mart.
Well, Florida's always weird because Florida's like the South, but it's not actually the South. It's all New York kids, like my parents from Chicago. So everyone's like second generation, or they're snowbirds that moved down. It's like weird.
Yeah,
weird state.
Like Destin's like the South.
Yeah,
St. Louis.
North Florida is the South. South Florida. Well, South Florida is Caribbean, and then like Central Florida is more like the amalgamation Midwest.
I don't think, and we'll talk about your AI stuff you've been working on. I don't think you probably had any voiceovers yet that has said y'all in your voiceovers.
In Spanish, there's a really good word called vosotros, or vosotros if you're Spain. It's like you plural.
Oh, you plural.
Yeah.
Now this AI work you're doing, is it in different languages, or is it mostly in English?
It can be. It's pretty crazy, the dubbing tech that they have now. So like probably soon we'll see any YouTube video, we'll be able to automatically like locally regionalize it with my accent. Like how I sound in English, it'll be natively French, but still sound like me, because that tech exists. But YouTube is about to automate it all for any video. It's gonna be really cool, because like the problem is everyone consumes English content, but like there's actually a lot of obviously incredible content in other countries, but because it's not in English, like most of the Western world won't watch it. So it's gonna kind of be really, people in other countries can get viewers, and then vice versa, they can get their stuff out. So.
And you've been doing, just to update our listener or viewer, you've been doing a lot of new fun stuff in the AI video space. Just fill us in a little bit.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know me, my name's PJ Accetturo, or PJ Ace as I am on X. It's been crazy, like six months ago. Well, a brief background, I've been a filmmaker for 15 years, published in National Geographic at 18, did documentary work for 10 years, worked with like sex trafficking documentaries in Thailand, just really great career. Then I found out that nonprofit films don't pay at all. You feel bad charging missionaries and NGOs like just a couple like $1,000 for flights and stuff. So quickly switched to commercial, did some cool stuff with like NFL commercials, and then grew a YouTube channel to 1 million subscribers randomly with
Flagger.
dad. Weird. In 6 months, 1 million subs. It was cool. And then leveraged that to this crazy story, which I think I told last time, of how I like snuck into a party, pitched a billionaire on the spot, raised millions for my first TV show ever after getting, turned down in Hollywood by like time after time after time. And so just very Hollywood story of, what it took 15 years to kind of get my first show published. And then kind of the story I tell now is, great, well, we're spending $1 million plus an episode. Everything's over time, over budget. And I'm like, I can only sell this to 5 customers, Amazon, Hulu. It's like, there's got to be a better business model. There's got to be a better way that people don't have to wait 15 years, sneak into a party to pitch $1 billion. It's like
it's a heck of a business plan.
It's a miracle.
Here's what you do.
Yeah. It's not rinse and repeatable. I can't teach a course on how to get your show made, but I can teach people a course on how to make their films with AI now. And that's finally, we're seeing this like step change where AI, images were photorealistic like a year ago, and we're like, whoa, but AI video kind of sucked. And now in the last 6 months, for the first time ever, AI video is starting to look really good. Obviously, there's a lot of like ethical kind of questions around that are being actively like, how do we find ethical training data sets? And that's something I'm really passionate about, is like having clean data, good data that was licensed and paid for. And then on the artist side of disruption, I talk a lot, about how do we use this to empower artists, to democratize, the gatekeeping that otherwise would have existed in Hollywood. There's like 5,000 films being made per year in the old model. Well, we're about to see millions of films being, the next George Lucas is, a kid from Nigeria with a $200 laptop. That's the future of filmmaking. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. Wow. Huh. What do you say, Joe?
I'm a big movie fan.
Yeah.
With AI, Tom Cruise might have like 10 films coming out this month.
Yeah, it's like 3 less than what he usually has come out.
I'm excited for Mission Impossible.
Oh yeah. He's my idol. So we are movie fans. Joe and I often text each other about movie trivia and whatnot, and so you wonder, okay, how will it be different for the end user? And you're equally adept, if not more, at the film genre without a real actor. Joe, this is a question for you. How does that movie change? Like when you're eating do you eat popcorn?
No,
not currently.
No.
Have you ever eaten popcorn? Like
I've eaten it in the past. Yeah.
I used to do popcorn and the Raisinets.
Mm-hmm.
Together, and I'd eat like one piece of popcorn, 3 and then a Raisinette, because the sugar and the salt.
Yeah.
This is why we're dying, by the way. This is why America is dying early, because the food's so good. This is my argument, by the way. The food in America, like if you just ate seaweed, we'd wouldn't have type 2 diabetes. We'd probably have less cholesterol, et cetera, et cetera. But it's so good.
Yeah, the taste of food is an art.
Yeah,
it's an art.
And we've perfected it, which it's horribly good. I mean, it's anyway, the long and short, you're watching a movie, maybe you're eating seaweed and you're not eating popcorn, whatever you're doing. And you see Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible like 42. But it's not. It's actually, BJ did it, or the guy in Nigeria did it. Does that change how you experience that movie? It was almost
I think it would if the quality was different, but if the quality
equal quality, all things being equal.
Here's what bothers me about AI actors. There's no art to it now, as far as a person having to be a trained actor.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
To get
the
it,
wheels turning, Travis.
To get it,
GJ's really.
You can make an AI character cry, laugh, do whatever you want them to do, right? But for a person, they have to come up with that emotion.
Have you ever seen Zoolander? I mean, you can make an actor do the same things.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to use AI now, and I don't want to go too in the details, but in a nutshell, you can actually have, what we do is we record. So we have a full TV show right now on the story of Jonah from the Bible, and we had a really great Hollywood actor come in, and we recorded all of his performances. So it's the same tech that they're essentially using for like Avatar, if you will, of recording their performance. And then we mapped that performance onto the AI avatar. So he looks like a sea captain. We actually had, this is crazy, but we had him do the full cast, almost like Andy Serkis from Lord of the Rings. He's just this huge range, can play 100 different characters. Well, that's what our main actor did for the show. And then we, using AI, obviously put him onto any character, but also we remapped his voice. So he's like an old woman, he's like a young kid, he's like a grizzled captain, old king, young Jonah. It's pretty cool.
But eventually you won't need the actor at all.
I don't know. I mean, it's probably, I don't know. I think obviously there's like, it's all trained on pretty comprehensive, like, it's like YouTube, Google has one of the best models right now. It's trained on, billions of minutes of film, if not trillions of minutes of film. Like, it's mapping those really good character performances. It'll be interesting. I'm probably like one of the top AI filmmakers on the planet, and I have no idea what's going to happen 6 months from now with AI film.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I want to see another Terminator, just all AI. Right? Because it's
AI about AI.
It's fun, right? To the chopper,
Yeah, that was a different movie.
Well, I mean, it's all about AI.
It is about AI. I wonder if there's going to be an AI Actors Guild.
Wow. Yeah.
Do large language models have rights or agents?
They become self-aware and they strike.
I mean, just saying, it could happen, right? It could happen. Then you got the actors back to work. So hey, there you go. Tom's like, hey, I got a job again. It's a fascinating this season, right, of filmmaking. I mean, from all the way from the silent films to today. What an amazing transition. And if you followed any of the history of the silent films to then what we call the talkies, it was a revolutionary change, right? People were instantly out of work because their voices they could not verbalize the acting nearly as convincingly as when there was no sound.
Oh, you're saying it's almost like dancers,
screen actors.
Dancers versus line actors.
Yeah, they were out of work like day one because you can't act, you can motion.
Yeah.
So you see, there was a major disruption, right, in acting, and I suspect we have another disruption equally, if not more, disruptive.
Yeah, I mean the metaphor I like to use is when painters were painting, obviously it requires massive years of talent to kind of recreate what happens in a scene. And then when cameras were invented, it probably felt extremely threatening for artists to be like, well, all you do is push a button. There's no artistry here. You're just capturing what happened and there's no skill required. But obviously photography is an incredibly complex artistic thing, and it's a net good for the world that images exist. And I think it's kind of this similar step change where yes, anyone can technically generate, a scene, but there's lots of artistry that goes into like what that is. And then also to compiling it into a cohesive narrative in the case of film. It's still high skill gap. Yeah.
And now you said there's a Jonah thing you're doing?
Yeah. So in the last 6 months, I kind of started my AI journey after our show ended. And the first AI film I made got 22 million views. And I shut it down.
That was quickly.
It was
within how many days?
Like 3 days,
yeah.
22 million views. Got like BBC interviewed me about it. It was like all this crazy stuff. But I actually shut it down because I could handle death threats. I got like thousands of people. Like, it's funny because there's this like really safe bubble on X or Twitter where you're like, the first 100,000 views I've found is like a really safe space. Nobody critiques it, mocks it, because it's all fellow AI people. Then the next couple 100,000, you get a few. And then after something goes viral, like 1 million, the reason it goes from 1 million to 22 million is because it's actually getting reshared, not by like people who like it, it's by people who hate it. But the irony there is like, well, thank you. I'm now famous and have all this new work as a result of you hate sharing my film.
Seems like Donald Trump has got it figured out.
Yeah, I guess all press is good press. Yeah.
Weird. that a project like that generates hate.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fear of like not the project, but what it represents, which is like, oh, you're stealing jobs from artists, or you have no skill, learn to pick up a pencil and draw. And it's like, this is obviously dumb.
It happened with cars, people like, boycotted cars because the horses, what's happening here? The horses are the way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I like the smell of manure.
Like taking 3 days to get to San Francisco. Yeah.
I like stepping it in the street. Yeah. This other stuff. But it was
horse needed no gasoline.
Right. Yes.
It was faster than most cars at
the time. Yeah, and it was more reliable.
Yeah.
We were, but now you've got so you had you ever had death threats prior to this?
No. And here's the thing, like the internet is a very fickle, place where like there is some hot button of the day on the internet that soaks up all the outrage. The reality is nobody ever remembers the specifics of what they were mad about on the internet a week ago or something. Yeah. So there's never, I don't know, like, and also I'm created an AI film. It's not like I'm like seeing anything actually politically divisive to where I would cause concern over death threats. I have like almost like I want to print out a big wall of like, it was like, go generate a bridge and use it to jump off or whatever. Go generate a bridge and jump off of it.
Sometimes when you see something, you run right to the comments. I can't wait.
Well, and I got to see it, and it was a love story of all things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was it. There was that film.
Was that the one that got the hits, or was something different?
It was actually okay. Technically, I did a 48-hour film festival, which you saw, which hit 500,000 views in like a day, and then I was like, I'm hooked. This is a new drug. This is awesome. And so I made this like a couple weeks later.
Oh, is that right?
And then that hit 22 million. Yeah.
So it's here to stay, right? So for anyone listening who's anti-AI. Boycotting AI.
I always want to say, like, your concerns are valid. Like, it's like I want to rip artists off. I want the training data sets to be better, and I don't want AI. But I also see it as this inevitable tsunami that, like you said, you can't put Pandora's box back in, and like sticking your head in the sand is not going to make it go away. Just no one's going to learn how to like ride the wave and kind of co-pilot with it. Like ChatGPT, everyone's going to use it. Everyone's already using it. So it's like, okay, how do we use this in a way that doesn't like rob our voices? We're in school, we're not writers, we don't know how to write. Yeah. How do we work with it, get taught from it, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah.
And so you've got some traction in the Bible story space. It sounds like with the Jonah stuff.
Yeah. Here's what's really interesting is that I've talked with Netflix and Amazon and whatnot, and they're all essentially just like afraid of all the legal downstream effects of like, okay, can we say that we own this? Like, there's just a lot of questions, but classic Silicon Valley kind of opportunity is where people are afraid. That's where the opportunities are for young disruptors and whatnot. So it's actually, I think the biggest opportunities right now in the AI film space is in the Christian media space, because it's open source IP, if you will, like anyone can make a Bible story. There's, a billion, 2 billion kind of daily active users, if you will, of the topic material. And the demand's high and the supply is incredibly low because the cost it takes to make a Jonah or 10 Commandments or whatever is just tens of millions of dollars, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars to do these Bible stories justice. So we barely have any, real series apart from some kind of Jesus stuff. And like, anyway, it presents this actually great opportunity for independent-ish Christian studios to start doing AI Bible stories. So the House of David right now is #1 show on Amazon. Shows like still huge latent demand for Christian films. And so, yeah, we'll probably be one of the first AI TV series to come out ever. It launches next month. It's crazy. I did it with a team of 6 AI filmmakers and myself. It took us about 2.5 months to do it, and then we still have a human composer, so human sound effects, but it's just one actor that does the entire performances of everyone on the show, and it's been a wild ride. We got a bunch of more, like we did a music video with Timbaland. That was really fun. He's very like pro AI because he owns a stake in a music company, and then we've done other cool commercials for other brands. And, what we say to them is, look, like it's 90% time and cost savings. Like you can also instantly get feedback on like, you can almost split test commercial campaigns for the first time ever on like with Facebook ads and whatnot and tweak it. And like, yeah, they send us back to revisions. We swap out the main character with someone who looks different. It's different. Also for like, when we're talking to like luxury product brands, you know, it's this idea of what we call asset expansion, where you can make a campaign, let's just say for Starbucks in one country. And then instead of having to shoot in all these different countries, just great. Like take all the assets, train a model on it, and then shoot 100 different countries, local actors, you know, kind of local context towards that. So we're going to be in an age of a surplus of content. Yes, there's disruptive effects to it, but it allows us to kind of all create content and supercharge our businesses 100 times more.
So I wonder if Hollywood, and this is me knowing nothing about any of the back workings of the industry, but I wonder if Hollywood will start to move away from like the leading man, leading woman kind of actors and get more into like character actors, where they can be multifaceted.
That's exactly it. And that's why I used Andy Serkis, who's Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Yeah. You know, it's a great example where it's not about what I think in Hollywood, obviously that like the big Christopher Nolans and Christopher Nolans and Quentin Tarantino's, like all the big, they're not going to use AI probably for at least anytime soon. So yes, the highest level of films will still use like physical actors for a while. But then there's going to be this kind of spectrum downstream where like, okay, let's say you have a sci-fi film that gets greenlit, an original great one, because now they can shoot all their VFX and starship shots and wides and stuff like that with AI. And then they just spend a week or two with actors in a small set and they work with them. Great. That's like a hybrid production we'll see at this kind of mid-budget. And then there's like low-budget stuff like what we're doing where, you know, now you can crank out an entire film purely AI, but there's still actors that it's, you know, core performances by.
You know, disruption, it's a great concept to kind of discuss, both from a like a day-to-day, how we, you know, I describe disruption as to go back to the old way would seem unthinkable. That to me is how I view disruption. There's a lot of things that are not necessarily disruption. They're changes, but disruption would be like so many things have been like, no, I would never do that. Like I would never try to find a payphone again. Right? Like although I have seen them, and I showed my son once, I was like, hey, check this out. Like, what's that, Dad? I had to explain the whole thing. It was like mind-boggling to him because he's like, why would you need that? Like, there was a time. Yeah. There was a time when there were no cell phones. Like, they didn't exist, son.
No one knew where you were.
No one knew.
You didn't know where you were.
Yeah. There was no GPS.
Yeah, I remember MapQuest. I mean, I don't remember physical maps. I remember MapQuest.
Oh, yeah. All that. Oh yeah, all that. And of course, you know, our, you know, generation after generation, millennial, Gen X, and Boomer, and so on, like they all have their story, right? Their story before there was. But I think about that. And so like even Jesus, like disruption, right? Massive disruption in the moment. I was thinking, because as you were talking about AI, it brought me to start thinking about like his message and like the opposition, because you were talking about like the death threats. Like he had death threats pretty quick, you know? I mean, right? Yeah. I mean, he was like, you know, this is like, not only that, but like people were like picking up stones to kill him. Like there's stories like he had to roll because it's like, no, it's not time, right? And what was the disruption for him? The disruption was like, hey, you don't have to do things the old way. Like you don't have to do the way. So like the rules, right? All the heavy rules that were being loaded on the people by the Pharisees, right? That you had to do this, and this, and this to be pious or forgiven for any of those matters, right? You had to do all these things, and Jesus is like, no, you actually don't. And that was like, it was massively disruptive to the system, right? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about systems. But that system was not as effective as what was possible. And so this is where this comes in. And I'm looking at his life. I love for your input on this, in the ways that he like totally disrupted thinking. Like for example, when his guys were, eating a little bit of wheat, as they were walking by a field on a Sunday or a Saturday, a Sabbath for them. And then the Pharisees are like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, why? They're hungry. or healing someone on a religious day, right? It's like, well, no, you shouldn't do that. You're working. It's like, well, wouldn't you like take your animal and keep it from dying on a, like, I know, like we're rolling our eyes. It's like, seriously, guys, seriously. It seems like today it's a no-brainer, but then it was like revolutionary. This is like disruption. This is like first century disruption. And I think we need to, sometimes I think we need like to hit the reset again, like faith-wise, because we like fall back into that. We fall back into that like feeling like we have to earn, ascertain, maintain God's love. And it's like going back to a payphone. You don't need it. So like, and I like just turn the page to this disruption that we're talking about, like a lot of things we're doing and in the community. And PJ, we've had lots of conversations about faith. We've had lots of conversations about, organized religion, and certainly there's a place for that. But cutting through, right? Cutting through to just like, let's just cut through to like, what does it mean to have purpose? What does it mean to have peace? Right? What does it mean to carry a sense of authenticity in my day that isn't judged, that isn't shamed, that's shaped, that's consecrated, that's developed, and with a joy. And I'd love to just open the conversation, especially, PJ. We had a Be Holy challenge. We've been having this conversation with folks where everyone's in town for the G3 retreat we're having. When you first heard the challenge, Be Holy, do you remember like what went through your mind? Like,
yeah, I'm like, sure, thanks, Pastor. Like, that makes sense in a church context.
Yeah. This is
but like
business.
In a business context. Yeah, I don't. It's just hard to contextualize it. I'm like, why that's relevant. I now like, I actually believe it. No, it's done a lot of like thinking because I don't know. You just always have those opportunities of like in business of like, am I trying to be a high integrity person or am I trying to like maximize opportunities or be afraid? And honestly, that's been a big kind of ups and downs for me lately. Is like, do I give into fear and potentially compromise my values, or do I listen to myself? Do I, like trust and open myself to others, and also just kind of like trust the faith of like, this is what I think is right, and it's a hard decision, and everyone's gonna second guess me, but I'm gonna sleep the best at night on this, even if it like could really be worse. But I think a lot of times, if I'd done the like easier thing that was maybe a lower integrity decision, it would have far screwed me over in the long run. And that's where I'm like, yes, you have to.
That's it. And that's so you say it, you're like, okay, at first you're right. So is this like, am I in seminary? Right. And it's like, maybe, but it's not the same kind of context. The context is what is really the walk. The walk is, as we've talked about, being set apart. Why? For a divine purpose, a calling that is, in fact, at that higher standard of what you're talking about. It's the higher standard of virtue, right? Of integrity. And if we don't say yes to that, then we settle for mediocre virtue, mediocre integrity. And that does have, all of these have practical applications. Right? This isn't just like, oh, I just do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the religious thing to do. No, it's actually works in life, because then you're more trustworthy. Yeah. Even if you don't make a decision that others agree with, you do it out of the sense of your own virtue, out of your higher principles. That makes a difference. It's a ripple effect.
I'd say so. And I also say like, it's almost sometimes not about that particular thing being a better outcome for you. Like, high integrity decision versus low integrity decision. Like, it's not about the circumstance being a good. It's about the long-term cumulative effect of high integrity decisions over time versus low. Like they get you to very different places here, even though they seem like marginal, improvements here.
Yes. I remember one time, and if you've ever been charged wrong, I'm sure many of us had a lower charge on something and we got out of the store. It's like, oh, they only charged me so much. Or maybe they didn't charge you at all for something. I remember my wife coming out of we were at an outlet mall. And she's like, oh, they didn't charge me for the jeans. We were in the car. It's like, I just looked at her. And she's like, looked at me. She gave me the look like, seriously, do we have to? I'm like, yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
We have to. And it was just as reluctant. And my wife is she has a high integrity. I don't want to make it seem that way. But it's definitely.
Tara the thief.
No, I know. Dude, I've done that with grocery store stuff. And it'll be like lip chapstick or whatever. Something that's just inconsequentially small. Like, I don't know if I want to go back. A lot of times when you go back in, they say, oh,
just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
But then it's your time. You're like, oh, no, I got to get stuff to do, right? There's all these things that come up that are challenging or causing you to want to compromise that if you will, that disruption that you've agreed to, right? Which is this be holy challenge. And to your point, when you do make that decision and you say, no, I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna walk in this. For me, I always feel good. Mm-hmm. Like I just feel, I don't know, pure. I guess that's the word. It's like, wow, I feel like a weight off my shoulders because, if I didn't do that, even if they were, even if that situation, they do just give it to me, that's their decision. You know what I'm doing? I'm taking advantage of an error or a mistake or someone else's something that they've done without them knowing that actually hurts them, right? Because I'm taking money out of their hands when they made a mistake. I'm taking advantage of this misfortune, if you will.
Yeah.
And this is back to the love radically thing, right? The radical love piece. It's like, okay, so the be holy, really, it's built on that ideal of radical love. And love seeks not to harm.
Yeah.
Love seeks to build and to protect. Even those who don't necessarily think that deserve it. It's a whole other level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the classes I teach for companies that bring me on is understanding like core value and following your core values. And, instead of the buy-in, the actual belief in your core value and why it's important. And every company has different core values they set up. But I have a little list of rules that I go through on things that you have to do in order to follow your core values correctly. And one of them is that we don't sacrifice integrity for short-term gain, right? Because, and every time I hit that one, you can always see like the owners of the company look at each other like, yeah, right. Like if we get an opportunity, you know what I mean? And it always, and I mean always in the long run, proves best that they make the high integrity decisions, not only to the consumer, but like to the people that work within the company are watching them make these decisions and going, oh, okay. So like they believe in it. Like I can start adopting these core values myself. And when you have a whole company that is thinking the same way along their core values, like that is an unstoppable force.
And you're right. Everyone's watching, by the way. And even the smallest amount. I remember one of my team members gave me $1 from something somebody had done. And I remember I just tossed it in the till. We had a little bin. And then he posted later on Facebook. It's like, what my boss today did was so encouraging to me because he didn't put the money in his pocket. He put it to be, I could have put it in my pocket. I'm the owner, right? But I didn't because that would be non-taxable. Of course, it's taxable. The point is that even in the small things, right? Even the small, and I didn't even think about it. I wasn't even thinking about it. But you don't realize that, like you said, right? And like you said, all these small, what would seem insignificant, have major possible ramifications.
Yeah, I think there's some quote. I don't know how to say it right, but essentially, like, who you are is just like a byproduct of, you know, a series of like small inconsequential choices that you make over time. But like the cumulative effect of that is how successful you are, what your ethics are, who you are as a person. So the small things matter.
Yeah. It's a good title.
And the nice thing is that you're not stuck into a certain type of mentality, right? Like you can learn, you can observe, and like I know when I leave that class, everyone in the room has changed their minds about what they thought was a way to get ahead in business and like this new kind of role. And you can change, which is what's great, right? Like, you know, one day I'm just walking along and I'm Joe Thompson and I'm doing whatever. And then the next day someone texts me to be holy. And all of a sudden you hear the record scratch and I'm like, man, my life is not going to be the same from this day forward because now all I'm thinking about is that be holy. So like when I make a decision, whether it's in business or with my family or, you know, whatever, that's the first thing that is top of mind with me. Like, so what's the be holy decision here to make? Like I could cut corners and save some time, blah, blah, blah. Or like I could devote my time to this person who's needs me. And in the end, that builds the relationships that we talk about. Humans need relationships. And in the long run, it's the better choice, you know?
Yeah. It's the better choice. And it's the part about it that's, I think, this really speaks to me is the idea of vision. Vision in and of itself is setting a standard, right? It's essentially saying here's a high watermark for me, whether it's a physical destination, whether it's a mental destination. It's a place that I desire to go that's better than the current state. So what it does is it raises our bar, it raises the standard for our lives. And I believe that so many of us live in mediocrity because we have no vision for what's better, for something that is highly profitable for the sustenance of our soul. And that message of be holy is raising the bar to the highest possible level of sustaining the soul for what's possible. So to me, even though it's a major challenge, right? And like you said, for business owners and entrepreneurs and those of us who in industry, like it's left field. Yeah. Like that's not something you hear at a conference. You're like, hey, we're going to go to a business conference. Oh, what happened? He told us to be holy. It's just weird, right? But when you think about it, you're like, oh, well, it's what we're constantly attempting to achieve in our business. We're constantly attempting to achieve being set apart, right? I mean, if you were just like everyone else, no one would notice you.
Okay, I think I hear what you're saying. You're almost saying like even in a secular context, be holy is still great advice. I like that. Like in another world, Steve Jobs would have phrased what he wants, you know? He's basically like, the bar's here. Let's map our actions in accordance to that standard. Right.
Yeah. The difference between secular and non-secular is that we use the word divine, right? So non-secular is we phrase it as being set apart for a divine purpose or divine call that is beyond ourselves, right? And there's a sense of godly character, godly virtue that embodies this journey. And really that's what, I mean, when we look at Jesus, right? Like what was his model for that? And you talked about little things, which is an applicable revisiting of the little things which he was pointing out at the time. Like, hey, look, these guys are hungry.
Yeah.
It's the little things, right? Don't condemn them because they're hungry. Don't condemn me because I helped someone, right? These are the little things in life. And that's what's setting us apart to raise the bar above status quo and mediocre. And I'm good with that. Like I'm all in. I'm all in for raising the bar above the status quo, above mediocre of what's possible in our lives.
No.
Yeah, it's hard to look at the big picture of that. So I like to take it in little pieces at a time, right? Because if you look at what you're trying to achieve in the whole Be Holy challenge, it's too complicated of a puzzle. But if you take it one day at a time, one decision at a time, then before you know it, you're like, man, I spent the last couple months making really good decisions, making really good choices. And considering our 4 pillars, you apply that to your spiritual health, mental health, physical health, and financial health. It works across all planes.
Yeah.
So,
PJ, I would say thank you for being here today. But since this entire production was made with AI,
Honestly,
to the chopper.
probably get 80% of the way there. It's getting close.
No, man, thanks for sharing and updating us. We're super, super excited with what you're doing and where it's taking you. And yeah, man, we're obviously your biggest fans, and
We're on a journey with you.
we're every step of the way.
Both in your business and your Be Holy journey.
That's right.
Oh, man. They both need a lot of work, but I appreciate all.
I understand.
Same.
I understand.
Thanks for being here and co-piloting, bro.
Oh, no problem. He promised to give me hair on my avatar.
It's going to be Fabio level.
I can't
We
wait.
have to keep moving it out of the way.
We're going to do a L'Oreal commercial with you.